Good morning, everybody. I'm Carl Alston with the Leukemia Research Foundation. Welcome to our Blood Cancer Awareness Month live stream conversation with Amanda O'Brien. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
Nice to see you, and we appreciate you doing this morning.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks
very
for
much.
having me here.
So, Amanda, you are a leukemia survivor, specifically a two-time acute
Yeah.
myeloid leukemia survivor. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
So tell us a little bit about your experience and what led to your diagnosis.
Okay. Well, in 2015, October 2015, I was 27. About a month prior to my diagnosis, I started getting like these infections. I got strep throat. I was having, chest pains, weird stuff. And they just, I would go to the doctor. They'd give me some, medicine, and they're like, "You're fine, blah, blah, blah. Just give it time." And, but, there's still issues. And, it turned out that it got really bad. I was on a trip to Europe with my boyfriend at the time and his family. 2 days into the trip, I started getting this unbearable bone pain,
Oh
like
boy.
where I couldn't even walk. It was in my legs and a little bit in my arms. It was very strange. It was a pain that I've never felt before. I knew something was wrong.
Mhm.
And we were actually in London, and we went into the hospital because I knew it was serious. And, they're just kind of shrugged me off, it's probably just some jet lag. You're fine, blah, blah, blah. This is the fourth doctor I saw now.
Right.
Anyways, we get home from Europe. I was in bed the entire trip, couldn't move. I go straight to the hospital. My parents pick me up, and there I was diagnosed with leukemia. And it
Wow.
was I saw 4 doctors before actually getting diagnosed.
Yeah, 4 doctors, well, you saw one here and I guess 2 or 3 in Europe, right?
Well, I actually saw 3 here because I was getting, like, I had strep throat, and then I started getting chest pains, and it just,
Yeah.
I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And then it was in Europe at like the worst time ever, where I'm
Right.
like, that was just an awful experience. But the reason being is, the first 3 doctors never drew blood. And, that's how
And that's how you got
that's
the
how you
final
see
die.
it.
Yeah,
The
right.
white count was
Right.
outrageous, and the other doctors didn't know because they never took blood.
So you end up with your leukemia
Yup.
diagnosis. I'm sure that must have impacted you and your family like a lot, like a ton of bricks, huh?
It was the worst thing. Like, I can't even, like, it was so scary because I was diagnosed, and instantly, like, my first question was, am I dying? And what was scary about it, they couldn't really answer that for me. And then,
Hmm.
the hospital that I was diagnosed at, they don't treat the leukemia there.
Right.
So I had to go immediately I went to Loyola here in Maywood, and I was admitted instantly, started chemo the next day. And this
Right.
was terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, I had no idea what was going on. Like, and I was in there first off, like, for 2 months straight, getting chemo. And that's like a pretty much just complete blur to me.
Right.
I mean,
Did
it
you
was,
had you even heard, well, I'm guessing you had heard of leukemia or
I've
heard
heard
of
of
blood cancer
leukemia,
before that.
but
Yeah.
I didn't know much else, like,
Hmm.
about it.
Hmm.
I knew it was a serious disease, but I mean, I had no idea, like, what I was about to endure, and
Right.
all that nasty chemo and being hospitalized for 2 months straight, and just,
Hmm.
I was terrified. Like, and, being in the hospital, like, obviously I had so many questions and everything, but the doctors really couldn't answer because, every case is different. And, they kind of see how I respond to the chemo first before they can
Right.
make a plan then,
Hmm. Hmm.
so.
So anyway, it was pretty harrowing experience.
Oh my
Here
goodness.
you're in Europe with your boyfriend and your boyfriend's parents, and then your symptoms really start to kick in. So then, that kind of killed the Europe trip. Then you
Yeah, I
get
mean, I was
back.
in bed. It was just an awful experience. It was kind of like, I almost felt like guilty because it's like I should be out there like enjoying this, but I couldn't move. I
Yeah.
couldn't move. Like I
Well, no,
literally, it was a pain. It was unlike anything I've experienced before.
well, fortunately, you were smart enough to listen to your body and
Yep.
say, all right, I've got to do something about this. So when you
Yep.
got home, get to the hospital right away, get a diagnosis, get admitted right away, get
Mm-hmm.
started on your treatment. So,
Yep.
of course, it took a little bit of time for them to get a plan together for you and you got everything. So after, those rounds of chemo, after that first couple of months or whatever, that helped you get into remission, correct?
Yep. Yeah, it was like after I believe like the second round of chemo, they said, okay, you're in remission. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, can I go home? But no, that was pretty much just the start of it. Little did I know I still had to go through multiple other rounds of chemo and then a bone marrow transplant. And
Wow.
I've never even heard of a bone marrow transplant before this. Like,
Oh
it's
boy.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck?
Who was did you have a donor set up
Yes.
that you knew?
So luckily my sister matched, which is amazing. And because it's kind of like we can get things moving a little bit quicker, that I have my sister right there. She's willing to donate at any time rather than having to dip into the registry. And, so I think it was at the point where I found out my sister was a match for me. It was at that moment where I'm like, all right, I got this. Let's kick this, cancer to the curb. Like, Rachel, my sister, is my donor. She's going to save my life. And here we go. And it was kind of like at that moment when I found out she was my donor, that was the moment I told myself, like, all right, we got this. We're going to take control and here we go,
I was wondering how you managed to keep yourself positive and
you know what, I
being
must
away.
admit, first I wasn't positive. I was so
Yeah.
negative. But it just, you gotta take, it's like moment by moment, day by day, like,
Right.
Yeah,
you just got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
So your sister was a match and you go ahead and have that bone marrow transplant and you're moving on.
Yes. It was rough. I mean, the transplant, it was rough as can be. And, but you know what? I pushed forward. I did everything the doctors asked me. I kept moving. I did everything in my power to make sure that I got the best results from, this transplant. And I was in remission and, I eventually conquered it and my immune system built back up with my sister's, cells and everything. And, I was in remission and, I never got to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm good now. It's
right. You're
still
always
really
sort of
rough after.
in the back of your mind, or maybe not in the back of your mind, but in the front of your mind, but still you're in remission. You're on the road to recovery and, things are good. Were you kind of thinking about what your immediate future was holding? Did you have plans that kind of got pushed aside or anything like that?
Obviously, this took my life into a completely different path, something that I wasn't expecting, So it took me a while before my doctor gave me approval to start working again. It was a long time. It was rough. Like I think about a year or so, I started working again.
Right.
And I worked as a nanny, which I was doing prior when I was diagnosed. I love children. So eventually I got back into that. And, life wasn't normal. I wouldn't say that because there was a lot of emotional distress that, I was dealing with because of all that I've been through. But I was pushing forward. I wanted to try to get back as much of a normal life as possible.
Sure.
If that makes sense at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's not normal, but,
Your new normal.
Yeah, my new normal, exactly.
Right. So you were working, but you were working as a nanny.
Yep.
So did that pose any different questions or anything from you from before you were diagnosed and then after you were diagnosed as far as being able to do that work?
Well, like I said, like my doctor, it was about a year, that I wasn't able to work, which was rough. Like I
Hmm.
was depending on my parents, like I
Right.
had to move back home with them and I wasn't making money. I felt so, I didn't have my independence anymore.
Hmm.
And eventually, I was able to work again. And then, I moved out. I moved in with my sister and I kind of pushed forward. I started working again. It was rough. It was really rough. Like my energy, was hard. But, I wanted to work again. I wanted to keep my mind away from it. And
Yeah.
I managed, and everything
Right.
was going well. And
Hmm.
time, was going on and things were going okay, you know, and then bam, out of nowhere, I relapsed.
Oh, and how did you find out about the relapse? Was it one of your maintenance appointments when you found out, or?
No, actually, I started getting these weird headaches. Now, these
Okay.
headaches were like headaches that I've never experienced before.
All right.
Like it was a weird pain,
Right.
and it just got worse and worse.
Hmm.
And I was dealing with them for about 6, 7 days or so, and they just kind of got unbearable. I'm like, this isn't right. Like, and in the back of my mind, I kind of knew. Like, it was almost like, I think it's back.
Yeah.
So I called my doctor. I'm like, I have these pains. Like, something's not right. Like, can I come
Right.
in and should
So
I
now
call?
this is not bone pain or whatever. This is a
No,
headache that you're having.
no.
So you
Yeah,
don't
this isn't,
really.
but it was a pain that I couldn't explain. Like, it
Hmm.
was something weird.
Yeah.
Similar to the bone pain, like, it was like a pain I couldn't even explain. Like, at the time, I didn't even know it was bone pain.
Right.
But I go in, I get my labs drawn, and I knew it. My doctor walks in the room, and the second she walked in, I just broke down because I knew.
Mm.
And
Mm, mm, mm.
and it was
So,
so unexpected. I was doing very well. I really
right.
was. My doctor was impressed. I was doing everything that was asked of me. Like it it was so unexpected. It really was.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a relapse. And
So what happened with the relapse? The
well, I my doctor told me what's happening, and I'm like, she's like, well, we got to do a bone marrow biopsy. We just got to make
Sure.
sure. And because it was a headache, they had to check my spine to make sure it wasn't getting into my central nervous system, which is really a serious issue. So I had to do a spinal tap. They inserted some chemo in there just to be safe.
Hmm.
And, admitted immediately, started treatment immediately.
Yeah.
The same thing, that I went through before.
Right.
And my doctor said, because you were in remission for almost 2.5 years, it looked like, the transplant worked. So what they did was they used my sister's cells again, and I went through
Wow.
another transplant.
Another transplant.
Yep.
And
But
how
what
long
was a
ago?
little bit different about this one is I don't know what it was, but right after my doctor told me I relapsed, like I broke down. But then a couple minutes later, I'm like, you know what? I got this. I got this.
Hmm.
I'm gonna kick this thing in the butt like better than I did before. Like it, no,
Yeah.
it's not getting
Yeah.
me. Like absolutely not. And it was
Uh-huh.
funny because I had a different mindset the second time around, and
Right. Because you
there
kind of
I
knew.
kicked its butt again.
You
So
knew what was coming, or you knew what you had to do, and you
exactly,
had
I
some
knew what
positive history behind you. So,
that's I think what helped me is I knew what to expect.
mhm,
Before I didn't. I had no idea.
right. So you get your second bone marrow transplant from your sister,
Hmm.
and how long ago was that? That's
That was October of 2018, which means
okay.
I'll be coming up almost on 2 years now in
All
remission from
right.
that. So that's exciting.
That is exciting, and you look great, and
Thank you.
it's obvious that you're still very positive about what was going on. Now you've done this twice, so you're an old pro. We would prefer that you not do it a third time.
Oh my
So
goodness.
tell
I
somebody
really
to
don't want
stop.
to either. I don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, no, I get it. And kudos to your sister because she's like the greatest person
She
ever.
saved my life. There's nothing like that I can do to repay her. She's my hero.
She did it twice even. So
She's
now you're going to have to give really good Christmas presents and stuff.
I know. I've been like, since, like, I'm just like, I just want to give you gifts constantly. Like, you're amazing. Like, you're my savior.
Yeah. So where are you? Where are you now? You are in remission again.
Yes, I'm in remission.
What's happening with your life?
You know, obviously, like, things are a little bit rough, especially with COVID and all. I'm considered high risk, you know. So it's funny because I wasn't able to work for a while. It took especially long to recover from the second one.
Yeah.
But, you know, a few months ago, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I think I feel ready to start working again. But the problem was COVID, you know, and my doctor's like, well, you know, you're kind of that have high risk. So unfortunately, I'm not working now because of, you know, all that's going on. I'm hoping like when things kind of cool down with COVID and all, like I will be able to start working again because I miss it. Right. But I am engaged. I just got engaged in March.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving right along. That's great.
Yeah, I know. And it's amazing because there's such a long period of time where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get to experience that, you know? So that's super exciting. I have a wonderful fiance named Andrew, and
great. Andrew is the European boyfriend, right? Or no, the boyfriend you went to Europe? Oh, different guy. Different guy altogether. One. Okay.
He wasn't around during the first one, but he was around during the second one. It was amazing. So
cool. Very good.
But you know, another issue that a lot of people, a lot of women, especially being young and all, the chemo and the transplant and everything, unfortunately, put me into menopause at the age of 30.
I'm so sorry.
Which is absolutely devastating. It really is, because kids have always been like something that I've been super passionate about. I've worked with kids like my whole life, and I've always dreamed of being a mother. And so that's been like really hard on me.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to have children of my own, but I don't care. Like, that's not going to stop me. I'm going to find a way to have children. And
absolutely.
My fiance is the same way. Like, we'll do whatever it takes. It's not going to be easy, but you know.
Yeah, you'll move right along.
Yep.
And you will be strong, and you will get that since you've got this twice. And you know, it just makes you stronger. Sounds like you went in fairly strong to begin with, but you certainly came out strong. So that is a good thing.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask you how you found out about the Leukemia Research Foundation.
Well, I think it was like a few years ago, like when I was originally diagnosed, like just like kind of when I was home, like recovering, you know, obviously I'm doing all this like Googling and research and stuff. And, you know, it was like, I want to be like up to date on like the newest developments in like leukemia and stuff. And I started just by a Google search, I found like the Leukemia Research Foundation and Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And I instantly like subscribed to the emails and everything. So I'm like up to date, because I'm like, I need to know like what's happening, like, you know, and, you know, and that's how I found out, obviously just through a Google search, but that's how I've been staying like up to date with everything. And I'm following on social media and stuff. And,
and you came to the Leukemia Research Foundation town hall meeting this past January, and hopefully you found that useful.
Yeah, that was really useful. It was really nice. Like, I was able to speak directly to like people that specialize in, you know, leukemia and stuff. And there was a bunch of, you know, clinical trial, like up and coming clinical trials and boosts and like certain things with, you know, managing the graft versus host. It's just like there was a lot of like useful information and people to talk to. And, you know, I learned about like new therapies and stuff, and it was really helpful. And I can't wait until, you know, I can attend more when.
Well,
I know, and there's so much like virtual stuff that it's just not the same. I like the in-person things, but I'm happy that I was able to attend that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that did happen before the whole COVID thing came along. And I'm going to give information to you and other people in a few minutes regarding our next virtual program that would have happened. It would have happened in May. It would have been the next thing that
Oh,
happened.
okay.
But, now that we've gone virtual and we had to move it and stuff like that. So one more question I want to ask you
Yeah.
is, you have been through a lot. I wonder if there is information you can share with people who are watching or people who will be watching about, sort of what you can ask if you're a person who is, newly diagnosed, around your age. What questions did you come up with that you wish you had asked in the beginning so that maybe others can ask those questions to kind of get a degree of comfort with what they need to go through?
Well, if you're newly diagnosed, like it's so overwhelming. It is, I can't believe it. Like I'm a pro at this point, but it's so much information at once and you have a million questions. And a lot of times, like the doctors can't answer them because it's kind of like we have to wait and see how you react and stuff. So that was really difficult. But I must say, like, what helps me the most and gave me the most information is, and I didn't learn about these until like a little bit later on, but there's like support groups on Facebook
Mhm.
that is specifically for AML or people that are going through bone marrow transplants. And it's everybody from the entire world is in these, from other countries and everything. And the information that people share is like unbelievable. Like I have learned so much, and I have brought up like from these like support groups and everything, like I
Mhm.
have brought up stuff to my doctor that I've learned through these. And then it was kind of like, okay, well, that is something maybe we can try. And, um, I highly recommend getting on Facebook and joining these online support groups. It made such a difference in my understanding of everything.
Yeah, well,
And
I'm
just
glad.
hearing like how other people, experiences and what happened with other people, and oh, I have this, is this normal, and then somebody's like, oh, I've had that before, this helps. And you get a lot of useful information from people all over the world.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you do that. And of course, the Leukemia Research Foundation has got some resources in that regard too. We have
Definitely.
presence in Inspire communities now, and I will attempt to share that link with everybody too, so that people will know about that and be able to, take advantage of that opportunity. Because I think it is right that if you can talk with people
Exactly.
who, know what you're going through, have been there, done that, or even if they're going through it at the same time you are, that is so
Oh my
helpful for
goodness.
folks.
Like just to even have like a friend to like, even if it's just somebody online in like another state and you can just chat with, like you guys are going through it together. And nobody else understands unless you've been through it. It's difficult. And I find so much comfort in these
Yeah.
support groups and talking to others that have been through it too.
Well, that's great. So I'm glad that you found that resource, and yeah, we're going to keep on keeping on, and
Yeah.
your strength is going to it's going to rub off on other people. So I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah.
There's a person watching right now, or was watching a few minutes ago, who had leukemia when she was 2 years old.
Oh my
So she
goodness.
kind of knows your story, and she's moving along too, obviously. So that is cool. I wanted to share a link with everybody in your comments. And by the way, if you wanted to ask a question of Amanda, all you need to do is put that question in the comment section there on Facebook or YouTube, and then I can ask Amanda. But in the meantime, I'm going to share a link with you and um, tell you a little bit about the patient program that's coming up. We're doing
Okay.
a virtual series, so anybody who is living with, acute myeloid leukemia, or any other kind of leukemia, living with small lymphocytic lymphoma, CLL, myelodysplastic syndrome. Uh, there's another couple of we're going to be talking about CAR T cell therapy. We're
Oh,
going to be
right.
talking
Yes.
about acute or aggressive non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. bottom line is that link there will take you to the page where we where we are sharing information on 3 Wednesdays when we're going to be talking about this. It's all going to be from 7:30 to 9 in the evening. This first one is this Wednesday, September 16th. The second one is September 30th, and the third one is October 14th. So if you click on that link there, allbloodcancers.org/treatment options, you'll be able to see what the schedule is and register for one or all 3. So you should take a look at that too, because then you'll be able to do it. And
Definitely.
it's virtual, so you will have no possibility of coming into contact with anybody who is ill in any way. So, you know, you can do that.
That's important.
Yeah. And also, while you're on the website, if you click on our Blood Cancer Awareness Month link, you will see the other things that we are doing in regard to the month and ways that you can help us, you know, during the month to spread the word. And you also have an opportunity there, if at all possible, to donate to the foundation so that we can keep doing patient education programs, patient support programs, and of course, fund the innovative research that we're funding so we can find a cure finally and put ourselves out of business and make a lot of people happy.
Oh, I know.
So anything else you want to tell people? Is there a secret that you can tell them on how to stay strong when they're going through a diagnosis?
I gotta say, you gotta keep moving. You gotta force yourself out of bed. And I'm not kidding. Like, that's a huge, like, one of my biggest tips. And the doctors told me that too. And the more I moved, the better it helped with my symptoms. Like, you gotta push yourself. You gotta keep moving. You can't lay in bed all day. Do whatever you can to keep your heart rate going and moving in any way possible. Like, that helped me tremendously. So I got to say, that's like one of the big tips I can give you while you're going through treatment.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I wanted to share that other link with people about, you know, finding support. So
And
that'll be in your
like,
comments.
that too. Like, the support groups are everything. Like, I don't know what I would do, like, without having like people to talk to that have been through it and other cancer survivors and everything. Like, it's really important to get support and people that have been through it. And I like offering the support as well. And I'm happy to chat with anybody or, you know, like, talk through anybody or answer anybody's questions in any way that I can, because it helps me help others.
Right. Oh, thank you. That is a great thing. I really appreciate you being willing to do that. And
I am so willing. I'm so happy. If anybody has any questions, or I'm more than willing to.
Well, I wanted to share that Leukemia Research Foundation may be able to help you with that opportunity in the coming weeks. So just pay attention to our website, and you might see exactly the right opportunity for you. And everybody else who's watching, please go to allbloodcancers.org to see, you know, what's coming up programmatically and to see what we are doing to help people living with a blood cancer. Amanda, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I hope that your positive energy just carries you through. And I look forward to knowing you when you are 77 and you talk about this like this was just a worn out shoe that you had to deal with.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of little kiddos. Well, not at 77, but
yeah, they're all big, and then they have kids. So yeah, that'll be cool. So stand by there for just a second, okay?
Okay.
All right, everybody. Like I said, it's Blood Cancer Awareness Month. So if you can help us out with a donation or with sharing the activity that's going on our social media, or you know, participating in any of our programs, please do so. We can't do any of this without you. We have been around since 1946, and we've been able to have the successes we've had because of you. So please do whatever you can and stick with the Leukemia Research Foundation, and together we will finally get a cure for all blood cancers. And that will be an awesome experience that you have helped with. So again, we will be doing more streams in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for those. I'm Carl Alston with the Leukemia Research Foundation, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot for spending time with us, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.